let's jump right into this explainer because we've got a seriously fascinating story to unpack today. We're breaking down South Korea's finalized 2026 tax legislation update. Now, on the surface, tax law might sound a little dry, but this specific move reveals an intense, high-stakes tug-of-war between government priorities and corporate strategy.
Seriously, think about this for a second. What happens when a government flat-out refuses to subsidize the global war for talent? That's exactly the dynamic we're looking at. On one side, you have the government, right? They just want fiscal stability and consistency. But on the other side, you've got massive corporations desperate to acquire top talent, constantly demanding new tax incentives to attract the absolute best of the best. It's a classic standoff.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the 2026 tax decision itself, look at the government's rationale, then explore rethinking executive compensation, and finish up with signals for global investors. Moving right into part 1, the 2026 tax decision. So back on June 28th, the South Korean government dropped a massive policy decision. They officially confirmed that restricted stock units, or RSUs, will be totally excluded from preferential tax treatment in their 2026 tax law amendment. This ruling basically kills months of intense debate over whether equity-based pay should get specialized tax incentives. The final verdict? Stock awards are just going to be taxed under existing rules. No shiny new tax breaks here. Now, just to make sure we're all on the same page, RSUs are a form of share-based compensation, and they are essentially the lifeblood of talent acquisition for big tech firms and multinationals. They tie an employee's financial success directly to how well the company performs. By locking these awards into existing tax brackets, the state is fundamentally changing the game. They're altering how these companies can structure pay packages and scale their workforce in an incredibly competitive global market. All right, let's pivot to Section 2, the government's rationale. Why did they do this? Looking through the government's lens, they had 3 core reasons for rejecting this tax relief. First up, authorities decided that giving preferential treatment to RSUs would just seriously complicate tax administration. Second, there's the fairness aspect. It creates a real imbalance when you compare it to the everyday wages average workers are taking home. And third, they're deliberately prioritizing fiscal consistency. They're choosing a steady, predictable tax framework over inventing some brand new category of relief.
To put it bluntly, their ultimate priority is crystal clear in this tug-of-war. They stated they are focusing on protecting the integrity of the tax base rather than expanding targeted incentives. Basically, they're guarding the national revenue streams, making sure the tax base stays completely intact and isn't eroded by special corporate carve-outs.
Which brings us to Section 3, rethinking executive compensation. For corporate leaders and HR professionals, this ruling builds immense pressure. Specifically, sectors like technology, biotechnology, and big multinational businesses are going to feel the most heat here. Why? Because these industries rely so heavily on equity to lure top-tier minds. They're the ones who are going to be forced to rapidly adapt and restructure how they make their job offers attractive. So ask yourself, if you can't rely on tax breaks to sweeten the deal, how exactly do you attract top-tier tech talent? Since this ruling definitely reduces the relative charm of RSU awards, prospective hires might just start demanding cold, hard cash, or maybe alternative long-term incentive plans. Companies have to carefully weigh these existing tax rules for RSUs against alternative cash plans if they want to keep their competitive edge. Honestly, this is a massive wake-up call for board remuneration committees. The clock is ticking toward 2026, and here's the playbook. Step 1. Completely reassess your compensation strategies. Step 2, evaluate alternative incentive mechanisms. Do they provide better value now that RSU tax benefits are off the table? And Step 3, make absolutely sure these new packages align with shareholder interests and regulations. You've got to restructure within the existing framework, and you've got to do it soon. Finally, let's zoom out for Section 4, signals for global investors. And this brilliantly illustrates one main concept: fiscal discipline. While this announcement isn't going to trigger some crazy immediate market volatility, it sends a very loud signal to global investors. It shows a measured, conservative approach. Even as other governments around the world weaponize their tax regimes to fiercely compete for talent, South Korea is firmly planting its flag in fiscal discipline.
But you know what? There's actually a massive silver lining here, and that is regulatory certainty. By putting an end to this debate right now, the government is giving corporate leaders exactly what they need most to plan long-term compensation structures. They know the rules of the game for 2026. This means they can adapt without banking on phantom tax advantages that might never even materialize.
So, what does this all mean in the grand scheme of things? As global governments continuously compete for top talent with aggressive tax regimes, will South Korea's conservative fiscal discipline actually pay off and ensure economic stability? Or is it just going to push highly skilled talent away to more lucrative tax havens? It's a fascinating geopolitical tightrope walk for sure. How companies adapt their strategies over the next few years is ultimately going to give us that answer. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep exploring the incredible dynamics behind the headlines.